Have you ever wondered about the possibility of a third world war? This question, once the stuff of science fiction novels and dystopian movies, is now becoming a topic of serious discussion among scholars, policymakers, and citizens alike. As we navigate through the complexities of the 21st century, the specter of a global conflict looms larger than ever before. Today, we're going to explore this alarming question, dissecting the multifaceted challenges our world is grappling with. We'll delve into potential scenarios that could spark a worldwide conflagration, the devastating consequences such a war would have, and finally, the steps we can take to prevent this nightmare from becoming our reality. This journey may lead us down some dark paths, but it's a necessary exploration if we're to understand and hopefully avert the potential future we face. Now let's dive into the multiple challenges that could escalate into a global conflict. Our world is facing a multitude of complex challenges. Let's take a moment to delve into them. One of the most prominent issues in the global arena is the rise of China. Its rapid economic growth and influence over trade and technology have led to heightened tensions, particularly with the United States and its allies. This rivalry extends beyond economic matters, encompassing human rights issues and the struggle for regional dominance. We also witness the resurgence of Russia, flexing its muscles on the global stage. Its aggression towards Ukraine and other neighboring countries is a cause for concern. The interference of Russia in Western affairs adds another layer to this dynamic, creating a palpable tension that is hard to ignore. Meanwhile, the Middle East continues to be a hotbed of instability and violence. The ongoing war in Yemen, Iran's nuclear ambitions, and the persistent tensions between Israel and its neighbors contribute to a volatile atmosphere that could easily escalate. The threat of nuclear proliferation and terrorism is another significant challenge. The risk of cyber attacks and misinformation campaigns can disrupt critical infrastructure and undermine public trust, posing a serious threat to global security. Finally, we must not overlook the environmental challenges we face. Climate change and environmental degradation have far-reaching impacts, threatening not just our ecosystems but also social stability. The scarcity of resources and the inequality of opportunities could fuel social unrest and migration, adding to the complexity of these challenges. Given these challenges, how could a third world war start? It's a grim question, but one that needs to be asked. In the next scene, we will explore possible scenarios that could trigger a global conflict. Stay with us as we continue to navigate this sobering topic. There are many possible scenarios that could lead to a third world war. Let's examine some of the most plausible ones. The first scenario involves a direct confrontation between the United States and China. Tensions are already escalating over issues like Taiwan, the South China Sea, or North Korea. This could potentially involve a mix of conventional or nuclear warfare, coupled with cyber and space warfare. The second scenario brings us to Eastern Europe. Imagine a situation where NATO intervenes in Ukraine to halt a Russian invasion, or Russia retaliates against a NATO member state. This could trigger Article 5 of the NATO treaty, which would require all members to defend each other. This, in essence, would be a domino effect, leading to a large-scale conflict. Next, we shift our focus to the Middle East. A regional war in this area could easily draw in external powers such as the United States, Russia, China, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. A conflict of this magnitude could involve proxy wars, sectarian conflicts, and nuclear threats. The fourth scenario is perhaps one of the most terrifying. Picture a terrorist attack, or a rogue state detonating a nuclear device in a major city, or maybe a large-scale cyber attack crippling the power grid or the internet. The ensuing panic, chaos, and inevitable retaliation could very well be the spark that ignites a third world war. These scenarios are not meant to induce fear, but to provoke thought. They are extrapolations of current global tensions and conflicts. The purpose of discussing these scenarios is not to predict a definite future, but to understand the possible outcomes of our actions today. Whether it's a direct confrontation between superpowers, a domino effect caused by regional alliances, a drawn-out conflict in the Middle East, or an unexpected act of terror, or cyber warfare. Each of these scenarios has the potential to escalate into a full-blown global conflict. The consequences of a third world war would be devastating for humanity and the planet. A third world war would have catastrophic consequences. It's a chilling phrase to utter, but it's crucial to understand the gravity of such a scenario. Imagine, for a moment, the sheer scale of the human cost. We could be talking about millions of lives lost, millions of families torn apart, their lives irrevocably altered. And then there are the injuries, physical and psychological, that survivors would carry with them for the rest of their lives. The displacement and migration of people on a scale we've never seen could also be a reality, with countless individuals forced to leave their homes and seek refuge in unfamiliar lands. But the devastation wouldn't stop at human life. The environment too would bear the brunt of this conflict. Widespread destruction and contamination could wreak havoc on our ecosystems. Natural habitats could be obliterated, species could be pushed to the brink of extinction, and the balance of life as we know it could be permanently disrupted. The disruption of the global food and water supply could exacerbate these issues, leading to a potential humanitarian crisis of an unprecedented scale. Economic collapse and social breakdown are also real possibilities. The financial systems that underpin our societies could crumble under the weight of war, leading to job loss, poverty, and economic instability on a global scale. Social structures could disintegrate, resulting in civil unrest, erosion of democracy, and a stark rise in crime and violence. And let's not forget the psychological impact. The trauma of war doesn't just disappear when the conflict ends. It lingers, embedding itself in the psyche of those affected, and can lead to a moral decay that alters the fabric of societies for generations to come. The loss of trust and cooperation among nations and peoples could also be a long-lasting fallout of such a conflict, making future peace and reconciliation efforts all the more challenging. In essence, the consequences of a third world war would be nothing short of apocalyptic. But here's the thing. The possibility of a third world war is real, but not inevitable. It's a future we must strive to prevent at all costs. There are ways to prevent a third world war, or at least to reduce its likelihood and severity. One of the most effective ways to prevent a third world war is through diplomacy and dialogue. It is through open and honest communication that we can foster understanding between nations, resolving disputes peacefully rather than through force. Diplomacy allows us to navigate the complex web of international relations, identifying common ground and working towards mutually beneficial solutions. Another important aspect of prevention is cooperation and multilateralism. By working together, nations can address global challenges that no single country can tackle alone. From climate change to terrorism, these issues require a coordinated global response. Multilateralism promotes this kind of cooperation, allowing nations to pool their resources and expertise to tackle common threats. Education and awareness also play a vital role in preventing a global conflict. By fostering a greater understanding of the world and its complexities, we can promote critical thinking and empathy. This, in turn, can lead to more informed, responsible decision-making at all levels of society, from the individual to the government. Media literacy is also crucial, as it allows us to discern fact from fiction, reducing the impact of misinformation campaigns that can stoke fear and hostility. Lastly, we must strive for peace and justice. This means resolving conflicts through nonviolent means, ensuring that grievances are addressed fairly and effectively. It also means promoting social justice, reducing inequalities that can fuel resentment and conflict. By creating a world that is more equitable and just, we can reduce the likelihood of war. However, it is important to remember that prevention is not a one-time effort, but a continuous process. It requires constant vigilance, commitment, and cooperation from all nations and individuals. In conclusion, a third world war is a scenario that we should all be concerned about and prepared for. But remember, while the possibility is real, it is not inevitable. Through diplomacy, cooperation, education, and a pursuit of peace and justice, we can work towards a world where war becomes a relic of the past rather than a looming threat for the future. In conclusion, A third world war is not a question of if, but when and how it will happen. We've taken a sobering journey through the complex challenges our world is facing. The rise of China, the resurgence of Russia, the instability in the Middle East, the threat of nuclear proliferation and terrorism, and the impact of climate change. We've explored a myriad of frightening scenarios that could ignite this global conflict and examined the devastating consequences it could have on humanity and our planet. But we've also discussed the importance of prevention through diplomacy, multilateral cooperation, education, peace, and justice. A third world war is a chilling prospect, one that we should all be concerned about. However, it is also a scenario that we can and should try to prevent. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay informed, stay engaged, and stay safe.